Following my research findings on Asivagam, there has been many requests from viewers to investigate Ramayana and Mahabharata mythologies. But I could not give my time on these things yet. However, on one sleepy evening, I was mulling over whatever the little Ramayana I knew about. One thing that suddenly struck me was that Ravana was having 10 heads, while Rama, his opponent, had just one head, like the ordinary humans. If Ravana was a demon king to qualify for 10 heads, then all the demons in the Hindu mythologies should be having multiple heads. But that is not the case. Other demon kings, like Hiranyan too, were depicted with a single head, just like humans. As a sidetrack, I would like to alert you that Hiranyan was purely a fictional character, not connected to history, and created with an ulterior motive of eclipsing Asivagam of Tamils. Hence, Ravanan picturization raised some curiosity in me. I then read the mythological stories on how Ravana got 10 heads. The story was disgustingly appalling. The story goes like this: Ravana was performing yagna on Brahma. As penance, he was cutting his head. Every time he cut his head, a new head came into existence. Brahma was pleased with his penance and gave him boons and all the heads back which he had cut. Have you noticed the extreme stupidity of this story? Head is the real identity of a person. Only head is having the brain and all the five sensory organs. After the head is cut off, the real Ravana is residing in the head, not in the headless body. I need not elaborate more on this stupid story, as you could have rightly guessed my arguments. But when we consider the multiple heads of Brahma and Murugan, there is a logical and apt reason for the metaphoric multiple heads, as can be seen in my earlier video on the multiple hands of Tamil's gods. Hence, I knew that there is a profound buried truth about Ravana's multiple heads, despite the despicable stories about it. After my research on Vishnu, I was well aware that all the prehistoric personalities were named based on their specific attributes rather than being called by their actual proper names. In fact, it is this great truth which I have dug out for the first time in history in the course of my research on Tamil's past. I would soon release a video that all the names of the prehistoric personalities like Shiva, Krishna, Indra, Karna, Panjali, Parthasarathi, Rama, Valmiki, Hanuman, Kubera, Saguni, etc., were, based on their specific attributes, are named long after the times, and they are not their proper names. Hence, I thought that the name Ravana too should reflect an important attribute of him, and his multiple heads should be related to his special attribute. Hence, I tried respelling his name. When I respelled it as Ravanan, I was immediately able to grasp his true personality and the origin of his multiple heads. Ra means night in Tamil, and Vanan means person of the sky. Hence, Ravanan means man of the night sky. This clearly means that he was an astronomer. Since he was an astronomer, he was metaphorically picturized with multiple heads, either to refer to the 9 grahas, that is, planets, or the 12 zodiacs, that is, rasis, which he studied. In fact, he is often picturized with 9 heads only, and among Thar people of Nepal, he is picturized with 12 heads. The 10-head Indian description is a misleading one, perhaps with intention by those who changed the real history of Ravana. Hence, his multiple heads metaphorize his astronomical works, and he should have been an astronomer. I do not know yet whether Ragu and Ketu were identified in the times of Ravana. I tend to believe, based on sufficient evidence, that Ragu and Ketu were introduced in the times of Vishnu, the great astronomer of later period. If that be so, Ravanan should have been originally picturized with the 7 heads representing the 7 celestial objects only, up to the times of Vishnu, and after the times of Vishnu, his picturization might have been based on the Navagrahas, which includes Ragu and Ketu. The proof for my inference lies in the fact that Ravana Parshvanath is depicted with the 7-hooded snake to stand for the 7 planets that he studied, unlike the Vishnu Parshvanath, who is depicted with the 5-hooded snake, representing the 5 aspects of the Panchangam, the Tamil almanac that he created. In fact, Parshvanath of Tamil Nadu is always depicted with the 5-hooded snake, and the Parshvanath of North India is depicted variedly with 7 or 9 or 5 hooded snake. This confusion itself is a testimony to the fact that Parshvanath was not the man of North India, and another source of their confusion is that they are not sure which Parshvanath they were worshipping, Vishnu Parshvanath or Ravan Parshvanath. We shall discuss about Ravan Parshvanath later in this video. I should provide proof for my inference that Ravana was indeed an astronomer. Astrology is based on the movement of planets, and hence only astronomers shall create astrology. There is an astrology called Ravan Sanhita, a copy of which is still available in Nepal King's Museum. It was a Sanskritized version of the original Tamil version. One has to do research on Ravan Sanhita to know whether Ragu and Ketu were used by Ravanan or later accommodated into that system. Tamils have to initiate a fresh research on Veda and astrology, as these things belong to Tamils originally. The mythology says that Shiva was dictating astrology and Ravana was writing it down. Though this is the usual stupid story, it does speak of the fact that Shiva was the astronomer, actually the first astronomer of the world. The truth is that Ravana was also an astronomer, and it was he who created probably the first astrology of the world. His contemporary was Agathian, a great Tamil scholar, and in his name Nadi Jyosyam is available, which was not based on astronomy, and one has to do research to understand the method of prediction. The North Indian sage Brihu seems to have been a fictional character, as I am unable to find tangible evidence of his historical existence, and the astrological works attributed to him were actually that of Agathian in most probability. Hence, I have given a concrete proof that Ravanan was an astronomer. That was why he was picturized with multiple heads, the head standing for either planets or the zodiacs. There is one more dimension to the personality of Ravana. He was an Asivaka Siddha. What you see in the picture is the ancient Sigriya hillock in Sri Lanka. It is claimed to be the palace of King Ravana. The name Sigriya evolved from Tamil name for a peak, namely Sigaram. Sigriya is just like the thousands of cave residences of Tamil Siddhas in Tamil Nadu. Apart from providing residence to the Siddhas, the hillocks were the places from where the Siddhas conducted their astronomical observations. The tall hills provided unhindered observation of the skies. There is another unmistakable fingerprint of Asivakam in Lanka. Look at the picture of this Damballa Buddha cave temple. You see the cut in the stone which diverts the oozing rainwater from entering the cave. This typical cut is seen in most of the Tamil Siddha caves of Tamil Nadu. There could be many more such places in Sri Lanka. Asivakam is more than 10,000 years old practice. Buddhism evolved out of Asivakam about 2500 years ago. After the entry of Buddhism into Sri Lanka, this cave was hijacked by the Buddhists and Buddha statues were installed in it. The above mentioned caves are the strong evidence which proves the existence of Asivakam in Sri Lanka, and the truth is that it was very much there in the now sunken Kumari landmass. The above mentioned paris, that is caves, were serving as schools to train students in all the arts, and they were the ancient Gurukulams. That is how Ravanan learnt many an arts. He knew music and he was a Veena player. In fact, he was engaged in competition with Agathian on Veena. Veena was one of the musical instruments of the ancient Tamils, and I would soon publish a video on the evolution of Veena. Ravanan knew medicine, and it is all well remembered and recorded. He knew political science and gave a very good administration. These are the general features of Asivaka Siddha. Siddha means knowledge, and knowledgeable people only were the kings and ministers in the ancient past. Consider the Aimberayam, Enberayam courts of ancient Tamil kings. Ravana was a Siddha and trained in many knowledge fields, and hence became the king of Lanka in his times. Ilangai, the Tamil word deformed to Langai and Lanka. Ilangai, Langai, Lanka, Sri Lanka. However, there is yet another evidence to prove that Ravana was an Asivaka Siddha. In Rajasthan, there is a place called Alwar. Just compare this name with the Alwar of Tamil. In Alwar, there is what is believed to be, let me repeat, what is believed to be a Jaina temple called Ravan Parshvanath temple. The story goes like this. Ravan, along with his wife Mandodari, was traveling on a plane to some place. They got down midway to have their food. But Ravana had a vow to worship Parshvanath before every meal. Since there was no idol of Parshvanath with him at the time, his wife Mandodari made one for him using sand. He worshipped it, and hence that image was called Ravan Parshvanath, and the temple at Alwar is just that. There are many catches to this story. It is very well known that Ravana was an acclaimed Shiva worshipper, and Shiva was the first Tirthankarar of Asivagam. Like all Siddhas, Ravana should have worshipped only Shiva, not Parshvanatha, before every meal. For instance, the Indian Parshvanath, who was called Vishnu, was also worshipping Shiva, the first Tirthankarar in his times. There is one more catch to the story that Ravana worshipped Parshvanath. Jainism is known only after Mahavira, the Jaina, which is about 2500 years ago. Hence, Parshvanath, who lived about 3000 years ago, according to Jainis themselves, was not a Jaina. He was an Asivaga Siddha of Tamil tradition. In fact, we have established without an iota of doubt that Parshvanath was actually Vishnu and that he was an astronomer. The name Parshvanath means the leader who observed the cosmos. It is actually a general title name for an astronomer, and the name Vishnu also means an astronomer. Kindly watch part 4 Vishnu video in this channel to know fully about it. We know that the times of Parshvanath is about 3000 years ago from now. We also know that Ravana was a mythological character, that is, the character of prehistoric times. The decided times of Ravana by researchers is about 7000 years ago from now, based on the recorded astronomical settings described in Valmiki Ramayana at the time of birth of Rama. Now the catch is, how could have Ravana worshipped Parshvanath, a person of future in his times? Absurd, isn't it? The terminology Parshvanath itself did not exist in the times of Ravana. The equivalent terminology at his times was actually Ravanan, meaning astronomer. Hence, there is no chance that Ravana ever worshipped Parshvanath. Hence, the term Ravan Parshvanath has a different meaning. We have already discussed that Parshvanath is a general title name for an astronomer, which means the leader who observed the cosmos. The Alwar temple for Ravan Parshvanath was built about 1000 years ago during Vikram era. At the time, Parshvanath of India was known, and that he was an astronomer was also known. But Ravana was also an astronomer, and that info was known to a section of people who lived around Alwar. But Ravana, which was again a title name for an astronomer of Ravana era, deformed to Ravana, and hence his name lost the connection with astronomy, just like the title Parshvanath itself lost its connection with astronomy today, which I have to rediscover. The name Parshvanath lost its connection to astronomy when it deformed to its present form from its original form, which was called Parsahanathan. Hence, during Vikram era, Ravana the astronomer was also given the then new general title name for an astronomer, namely Parshvanath. Hence, the image they worship at Alwar is not that of Indian Parshvanath, but that of Lankan Parshvanath called Ravanan himself. Hence, Ravanan, the Lankan Parshvanath, himself is worshipped at Alwar and not the Indian Parshvanath. The mere connection of Ravana with the Jain community of Alwar itself stands as a testimony that Ravana was related to Asivagam. Moreover, as we have already established in part 4 Vishnu video, that Vishnu Parshvanath was the Tamil Asivaga Siddha, and Ravan Parshvanath, being a Lankan Tamil, establishes the southern origin of Siddham, Asivagam, Amanam, Samanam, whichever the terminology it is called by. In this video, we have established that Ravana was an astronomer and that his multiple heads stands for the astronomical objects called planets or the zodiacs. There is further proof for the astronomer in Ravana in his picturization. Look at the object in one of his hands. This is having the sun in the center, which is surrounded by a planetary orbit. In another picture of him, we again see the solar system in one of his hands. Hence, multi-headed Ravana picturization tallies with the object on his hands, both consistently metaphorizing the astronomer in Ravana. Most of the Asivaga Siddhas were astronomers, and some of them, like Shiva, Ravana, and Vishnu, were able to provide extremely great contributions in this stream of knowledge, and hence they are remembered as gods. Shiva was the first astronomer of the world, who lived about 20,000 years ago, and that is metaphorized by crescent moon on his head and his Nataraja's dancing form. In all probability, Ravana was the second great astronomer of the world, and that is metaphorized by his nine-headed imagery, and he lived about 7,000 years ago. Vishnu is the third great astronomer of the world, and that is metaphorized by the five-headed snake that he is resting upon, and he lived about 3,000 years ago. I would produce a detailed video comparing their contributions in astronomy and astrology sometime in future. There is more proof of the fact that Ravana was an Asivaka Siddha. Rama, who killed Ravana, was just a mortal king of North India. Rama was not a Siddha, but Ravana was not only a king, but he was also a Siddhar and a great sage. In the screenshot of the wiki page being shown now, Rama called Ravana as Brahmana. We have already established in part 5 Brahma video that the word Brahmana and Brahma were Tamil words which represents highly learned and elderly Siddhas of Asivakam, who, as a rule, were qualified to wear white clothes. Hence, the mere historical fact that Rama considered Ravana as a Brahmin clearly proves that Ravana was an Asivaka Siddha. Rama consecrated one Shiva temple at Tirukonamalai of Sri Lanka and another one in India at Rameshwaram to cleanse his sinful hands. The name Rameshwaram clearly establishes this fact. His sin was that he killed a Brahmana called Ravana, an ardent devotee of Shiva, the first Tirthankara of Asivakam, otherwise called Samanam. Despite the fact that Ravana is killed and burnt as a villain during the annual Dashara celebrations in the North India, some communities in the North India still worship Ravana as god. One group is called Mudgal Gotra Brahmins. They should have either migrated into North India from Sri Lanka through sea route at some ancient time, or they might have been Aryans only and wanted to associate themselves with the greatest Brahmin, Ravana, when they hijacked Brahmin title from Tamils. This needs a thorough investigation. Similarly, some other tribes of people of ancient Lanka should have migrated to North India through sea route into Alwar region of Rajasthan. That is how the people of Alwar were worshipping Ravana as Ravan Parshanath. The people of Alwar should have originally been Asivaka followers, and long after the times of Mahavira would have called themselves after Jainism, as Asivakam was completely destroyed by then, just as Buddhism was completely destroyed in India. The mere prevalence of the names like Kiran Pandya, Desh Pandey, etc. proves that Tamil people, that is Pandyas, had migrated to Gujarat, Rajasthan regions via sea route. Dr. R. Mathivanan, the Indus researcher, says that Rajputra dynasty of northwest India originated from Pandya dynasty of Tamils. All these suggest an intimate connection of the northwest India with Tamil Nadu and Lanka, and hence the prevalence of the Ravana heritage there. The Indus civilization period, coinciding with the Ravanan era, and Indus civilization being a Tamil civilization, establishes the Tamil ascent concept against Dravidian descent concept as a source of the spread of civilizations of the world. I shall cite one more curious example here. Wheat is never grown in South India, but it grows in the Indus region and north of India mountains. But the wheat products like puri, roti, and chapati are all the unmistakable names of Tamil origin. Tamils migrated to Indus region in the ancient past, and hence these products got their Tamil names. This is an unusual proof for Indus civilization being a Tamil civilization, and I shall release a detailed video soon on it. Some fishermen communities around present-day Karnataka, associated with the Murdeswara temple at Batkal Taluk of Uttara Karnataka, and at Ravan installed Sivalingam at Kakinada of Andhra Pradesh, are worshipping Ravana as their god, which proves that Ravana was not a villain. This is evident from another fact that many in Tamil Nadu, until previous generation, named their children in the name of Ravanan, just like they do in the names of Shiva, Muruga, etc. In fact, Ravana should have been a worshipable figure like that of Vishnu among the Tamils, and the practice was deliberately sabotaged by the vested interests, perhaps during the Dravidian rule of Tamil Nadu, as for instance, Telugus worship Rama and Krishna, and Tamils worship Shiva, Muruga, Vishnu, and Ravana in place of Rama and Krishna. Kubera, the richest man of the world, being the predecessor of Ravana, and Ravana was such an acclaimed personality, and his son being the globally acclaimed Indra, the universal god of the Veda and the head of the so-called Indra Loka, and the celestial architect Mamuni Mayan being the father-in-law of Ravana, Ravana and the Sri Lankan Tamils were definitely envied upon. Hence, Ravana was pulled into war by the North Indians of that time to eliminate him, his family, and the Lankan people, just as it had been reenacted recently. We see the history repeating itself. Ravanan was ancient Prabhakaran, and Prabhakaran is today's Ravanan. History repeats if we do not learn lessons from it and educate the people on the hard lessons learned. Here, the history repeated itself because Tamils lost the very knowledge of their history itself, and our history was lost due to vandalism by other immigrant races in our Tamil land. There should be an eye opener. The Sinhalese, who hate India, claim Ravana heritage as theirs and treat Ravana as a token of their anti India stance. Just as they tried to gobble up Tamil's lands, they tried to gobble up Tamil's heritage. There were no Sinhalese in Lanka at the times of Ravana, and the Sinhalese are a mixed race originating from the refugee prince Vijaya of North India, who landed in Lanka just 2500 years ago, as claimed in their very book called Mahavansa. Tamil's wealth, lands, heritage, language are all constantly under attack and loot by other recently branched out races. Tamils should wake up to the reality at least now and plan for their own political space. Our first priority should be to install a genuine Tamilian government in Tamil Nadu, distancing the treacherous and deadly Dravidians and Aryans from the power centers of Tamil Nadu. This needs a mass awakening among the Tamil masses in Tamil Nadu. Without losing any more precious time, Tamils of all walks should start awakening process simply by educating the people around, their friends and relatives.